There's a reason The Rock doesn't talk about his 2020 business dealings, because one handshake cost him more money than most people see in a lifetime. And the man who orchestrated it all was sitting at his own dinner table. March 12, 2020. Miami, Florida. The Rock's $27 million mansion. What should have been a celebration dinner with family and close friends would become the night that cost Dwayne Johnson $100 million and nearly destroyed his faith in human nature. The occasion was supposed to be joyous. The Rock had just signed the biggest deal of his career. Not a movie contract, but a business partnership that would expand his empire beyond entertainment into technology, real estate, and global investments. It was the kind of deal that would secure his family's wealth for generations. To the future, said Marcus Rodriguez, raising his champagne glass across the dining room table. To partnership, to family, and to taking over the world. Marcus wasn't just Dwayne's business partner, he was practically family. They'd known each other for 8 years, ever since Marcus had been a junior investment banker who'd helped The Rock navigate his first major Hollywood contracts. Over the years, Marcus had become Dwayne's most trusted financial advisor, the godfather to his youngest daughter, and one of the few people who had access to every aspect of his business empire. If Dwayne trusted anyone with his financial future, it was Marcus Rodriguez. And that trust was about to be weaponized against him in the most devastating way possible. The deal they were celebrating that night was Marcus's masterpiece, a $300 million joint venture called Rock Ventures Global, that would consolidate all of Dwayne's business interests under one umbrella while expanding into new markets. Marcus had spent 18 months putting together the partnerships, securing the funding and structuring the deal. DJ, this is it, Marcus had explained during their final planning meeting. We're not just talking about making you richer. We're talking about making you untouchable. Real estate in Dubai, tech startups in Silicon Valley, entertainment complexes in Asia, you'll own pieces of everything. The structure was complex but brilliant. Dwayne would contribute $100 million of his own money, which would be matched by outside investors, creating a $300 million fund. Marcus would serve as the managing partner, overseeing all investments and operations. In return, Dwayne would own 60% of the venture, with the remaining 40% split between Marcus and the other investors. On paper, it was the deal of a lifetime. But there was one detail that Marcus had failed to mention. One clause buried deep in the 847-page contract that would give him the power to destroy everything. The clause was called Emergency Management Authorization, and it was hidden in Section July 3, 42 of the partnership agreement. It stated that in the event of market emergency, regulatory crisis, or significant operational threat, the managing partner could take immediate protective action to preserve the fund's assets, including temporarily freezing withdrawals and redirecting investments. It sounded like a reasonable safeguard. After all, if there was a market crash or regulatory crisis, someone needed to be able to act quickly to protect everyone's money. What Dwayne didn't realize was that Marcus had deliberately written the language to be as vague as possible. Market emergency could mean anything. Operational threat was completely subjective. And immediate protective action gave Marcus unlimited power to do whatever he wanted with the money. The trap was set. Now Marcus just needed to spring it. The opportunity came sooner than anyone expected, courtesy of the COVID-19 pandemic. On March 15, 2020, just 3 days after their celebration dinner, global markets crashed as lockdowns spread worldwide. The Dow Jones dropped 2,997 points in a single day, the largest point drop in history. Panic selling consumed Wall Street as investors tried to liquidate everything. For most people, this was a crisis. For Marcus Rodriguez, it was the perfect excuse. At 11:47 a.m. Eastern Time, Marcus sent a formal notice to all Rock Ventures global partners. Due to unprecedented market emergency conditions and significant operational threats to our investment portfolio, I am invoking emergency management authorization per Section July 3, 42 of our partnership agreement. All assets will be immediately secured and redistributed to preserve maximum value during this crisis period. The legal language was confusing, but the reality was simple. Marcus had just stolen $100 million. Here's how the scheme worked. Instead of using the market crash as an excuse to protect the investments, Marcus used it as cover to liquidate Dwayne's entire $100 million contribution and transfer it to offshore accounts that he controlled. The other investors' money remained untouched, only Dwayne's funds were redirected for emergency protection. Within 48 hours, The Rock's $100 million had vanished into a complex web of shell companies, cryptocurrency exchanges, and foreign investment accounts that Marcus had been setting up for months. But the most diabolical part of the scheme wasn't the theft itself, it was how Marcus covered it up. Using his insider knowledge of Dwayne's personality and business habits, Marcus crafted a story that would prevent The Rock from investigating too quickly. He knew that Dwayne hated dealing with complex financial details, preferred to trust his advisors completely, and was currently focused on adapting his movie schedule to pandemic restrictions. DJ, I know the paperwork looks scary, but this is exactly what we planned for, Marcus explained during a video call on March 18th. Your money isn't gone, it's been moved to secured positions that will actually benefit from the market volatility. While everyone else is losing 30 to 40% of their portfolios, we're positioned to make money from this crisis. Marcus showed Dwayne falsified documents indicating that his $100 million had been invested in COVID-resistant assets, including medical technology stocks, streaming service investments, and home fitness equipment companies. All of it looked legitimate, complete with fake performance reports showing modest gains while the overall market crashed. You're a genius, man, Dwayne said, relieved that his money was not only safe but apparently growing during the worst market crash in decades. I knew I could trust you to protect us. For 6 months, Marcus maintained the illusion perfectly. He provided monthly statements showing steady returns on Dwayne's investments. He answered every question with detailed explanations that sounded sophisticated but were completely fabricated. He even showed up to family dinners and business meetings, acting like the loyal friend he'd always been. Meanwhile, The Rock's $100 million was being systematically laundered through a network of fake companies, converted to cryptocurrency, and funneled into untraceable accounts in countries with no extradition treaties. The truth might never have come out if not for a coincidence that Marcus couldn't have predicted. On September 23, 2020, Dwayne was having lunch with Kevin Hart to discuss their next Jumanji movie when Kevin mentioned his own pandemic investment strategy. Man, I got so lucky, Kevin said. Right before the crash, my financial guy moved everything to cash. We missed the whole disaster. I mean, anyone who stayed in the market lost their ass. Even the safe tech stocks got hammered. Dwayne was confused. That's weird. Marcus told me our tech investments were doing great. Made money during the whole crash. Kevin's expression changed. As someone who'd been in entertainment long enough to see every scam imaginable, he immediately recognized the red flags. DJ, Kevin said carefully, nobody made money during March 2020. Nobody. The entire market was in free fall. If someone told you they were making gains during that period, they were either lying or they knew something the rest of US didn't. That conversation planted the first seed of doubt in Dwayne's mind. 2 days later, he asked his personal accountant, Sarah Chin, to independently verify the Rock Ventures global statements that Marcus had been providing. Sarah's investigation took less than 24 hours to uncover the truth. Mr. Johnson, she said during an emergency meeting at his home office, I need you to sit down. The companies listed in these statements don't exist. The investment accounts are fake. The performance numbers are completely fabricated. Your $100 million isn't invested anywhere, it's simply gone. The room went silent except for the sound of Dwayne's world crashing down around him. What do you mean gone? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I mean someone has stolen $100 million from you, Sarah replied. And based on the timeline and access required, it had to be someone with complete authority over your accounts. Someone you trusted completely. That's when Dwayne realized that the man he'd considered a brother had been planning to rob him for months, possibly years. The confrontation with Marcus took place on September 28, 2020, in the same dining room where they'd celebrated their partnership 6 months earlier. I know what you did, Dwayne said when Marcus arrived, expecting their usual weekly business meeting. For a moment, Marcus maintained his innocent facade. What are you talking about, DJ? Is everything okay? The investments are fake, Marcus. The companies don't exist. The money is gone. All of it. Marcus's mask finally slipped. The friendly, loyal advisor disappeared, replaced by someone Dwayne had never seen before, cold, calculating, and completely without remorse. You want to know the truth? Marcus said, his voice taking on a tone that made Dwayne's blood run cold. The truth is that you're incredibly naive for someone so successful. You sign documents without reading them. You trust people without verifying. You delegate everything because you think being busy makes you important. The verbal assault continued. I've been planning this for 2 years, Dwayne. Every contract I wrote, every investment I recommended, every piece of advice I gave you was designed to set up this moment. You didn't lose $100 million because of bad luck or market conditions. You lost it because you're too lazy and too trusting to protect yourself. But Marcus wasn't finished destroying his former friend. The best part? There's nothing you can do about it. The money is in cryptocurrency, spread across 12 different countries, held in accounts that don't officially exist. You can sue me, you can report me to the FBI, you can hire the best lawyers in the world, but you're never getting that money back. Marcus stood up to leave but turned back for one final blow. Oh, and DJ? This was never personal. You were just the biggest target I could find. If it makes you feel better, you weren't my first. You're just the richest. The legal battle that followed lasted 18 months and cost Dwayne another $15 million in attorney fees, forensic accountants, and private investigators. Despite overwhelming evidence of fraud, Marcus had covered his tracks too well. The money trail disappeared into a maze of international shell companies and encrypted cryptocurrency wallets. Marcus Rodriguez vanished completely. His last known location was a non-extradition country in Southeast Asia, where he was reportedly living under a new identity, protected by the very money he'd stolen. The FBI investigation remained open but inactive. The civil lawsuit resulted in a default judgment against Marcus, but you can't collect damages from someone who's disappeared with all the assets. Dwayne Johnson had learned the most expensive lesson of his life. In business, trust is a luxury that billionaires can't afford. But the financial loss, devastating as it was, wasn't the worst part of the betrayal. The worst part was the personal destruction. Marcus hadn't just stolen money, he'd stolen Dwayne's faith in people. 4 months afterward, The Rock found himself questioning every relationship, every business partner, every advisor. If someone he'd trusted completely for 8 years could betray him so thoroughly, how could he ever trust anyone again? The paranoia affected everything. Business deals fell through because Dwayne's new ultra-cautious approach made negotiations impossible. Friendships suffered because he constantly wondered if people were trying to manipulate him. Even family relationships became strained as he struggled to distinguish between genuine love and potential exploitation. I stopped being Dwayne Johnson and became a human fortress, he would later reflect. I was so afraid of being betrayed again that I stopped letting people get close enough to hurt me. But I also stopped letting them get close enough to help me. The healing process took almost as long as the legal battle. With the help of therapy and the support of people who had proven their loyalty over decades, his family, his trainer Dave Rienzi, his longtime friend Kevin Hart, Dwayne slowly learned to trust again. But it was a different kind of trust, built on verification instead of faith, protected by legal safeguards instead of personal relationships. The Rock's business empire eventually recovered and grew stronger than ever. But it was now structured with multiple layers of oversight, independent audits, and fail-safes designed to prevent any single person from having too much control. Marcus taught me that loyalty is earned, not given, Dwayne said during a rare interview about the experience. He also taught me that the most dangerous people aren't strangers trying to rob you, they're the ones sitting at your dinner table, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Today, The Rock's financial team includes multiple independent advisors who monitor each other, forensic accountants who verify every transaction, and legal safeguards that make another Marcus Rodriguez impossible. The $100 million loss was never recovered. But the lessons learned from that betrayal became the foundation for a business empire that's now worth over $800 million, money that's protected by systems designed by someone who learned the hard way that trust without verification is just expensive naivety. Marcus Rodriguez succeeded in stealing $100 million from The Rock. But his betrayal ultimately made Dwayne Johnson smarter, stronger, and more successful than he'd ever been before. Sometimes the most expensive mistakes become the most valuable educations. And in The Rock's case, a $100 million lesson in human nature became the foundation for building something that no one could ever steal: wisdom. The man who orchestrated the biggest financial betrayal in entertainment history thought he was destroying The Rock's future. Instead, he accidentally created an unstoppable business machine built on the one thing that Marcus Rodriguez could never understand: the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Rich people can be robbed. Wealthy people learn from being robbed and build systems that make them impossible to rob again. The Rock chose to become wealthy.